I live in Bakersfield, California. It's a small city off Highway 99 where nothing interesting ever really happens. That's why what happened at this McDonald's still messes with me. It was late March. My buddy Samson and I were driving back from Fresno after visiting his sister. Around 11:30 p.m., we got hit with a major craving. Samson is the kind of guy who can't go more than 3 hours without eating, or he gets seriously hangry. So when we saw the golden arches of the McDonald's glowing off the highway, he made me pull over. The parking lot was completely empty except for our car and a beat-up Honda parked near the dumpsters. The drive-thru was still open though. I pulled up to the speaker, but I didn't hear anyone on the other side. "Hello?" I said, leaning toward the mic. "Is anyone there?" All we got back was some static, followed by the sound of frantic running footsteps echoing through the speaker. A second later, the drive-thru window slid open, and this guy in his 30s appeared. He was out of breath and sweating bullets, even though it was maybe 50 degrees outside. His McDonald's uniform was a wrinkled mess. His name tag read, "Derek." Sorry, I was just taking out the trash," he panted, wiping his forehead with his sleeve. "What do you want? Make it quick, please. I'm about to close up." Something definitely felt off. 2 Big Macs, a large fry, and a strawberry smoothie," Samson said. Derek just nodded and vanished from the window. I looked at Samson. Man, that guy's in a mood. "Yeah, he probably just hates his job," Samson muttered, scrolling through his phone. Through the window, I could see Derek moving frantically. He was grabbing bags and throwing the food together with zero care. My eyes drifted to his apron. "Samson," I said, nudging him with my elbow. "Look at that guy's apron." Samson looked up, noticing the dark red stains splashed across the front, looking exactly like someone had dumped a bottle of ketchup on him. "Psh, he probably just spilled something," Samson said. But Derek kept wiping his hands on it, which only seemed to smear the stains further. His hands were visibly shaking. He came back to the window and shoved 2 bags into my arms. "Here, that's everything." He was already sliding the window shut before I could even hand him the money. I drove off, but I had this sinking feeling in my gut. I couldn't stop thinking about his face and how desperate he seemed to get rid of us. 10 minutes down the highway, Samson started digging through the bags. "Yo, where's my smoothie?" "What?" "My strawberry smoothie. It's not in here." He checked both bags again. Man, that guy forgot it. I sighed. "Do you want me to go back?" "I mean, why not? We paid for it. The least he can do is give us our full order." I took the next exit and looped back. The McDonald's lights were still on when we arrived, but the drive-thru window was dark now, with a closed sign glowing in the glass. "Are you serious?" Samson hopped out of the car and headed for the front doors. "Forget it," I called out. "Let's just go." "No, that guy is probably still in there. His car is right there." Samson pointed to the dented Honda. "Come on." He started walking around the side of the building toward the back, and I followed because there was no way I was letting him go back there alone. The back of the McDonald's reeked of old grease and rotting food. There was a massive dumpster and a heavy metal door with a dim light flickering above it. Samson was about to knock when I saw the legs sticking out of the dumpster. "Samson," I choked out. My heart started racing and my breathing became shallow and jagged. He turned and followed my gaze. "Holy shit," he said. We stepped closer, and I felt like I was going to pass out. The legs were bare, the muscle torn and raw, glistening with blood and hanging in tatters. You could see the jagged white of the bone piercing through the carnage. Samson grabbed the edge of the dumpster and hauled himself up to look inside. He recoiled a second later, retching. "Don't look," he said. But I was already looking. The body was face down, or what was left of a face. It was horribly mutilated and shredded. The arms were twisted in directions that didn't seem possible. The smell finally hit me, and I stumbled back, vomiting right there in the parking lot. Samson was already on his phone. His hands were shaking so hard he kept dropping it. When he finally got through to 911, he told them exactly what we'd found. We waited by my car until we heard the sirens. When they arrived, they taped off the entire perimeter and took our statements. The detective asked if we had seen anyone. The employee, Derek, he was here 20 minutes ago. He gave us our food at the drive-thru. The detective's expression shifted instantly. What did he look like? I described him with every detail I could remember. "Those weren't ketchup stains," the detective said quietly. They searched the building. Derek was gone. His car was still there, but he had fled on foot. They found blood all over the kitchen and bloody handprints on the back door. The body in the dumpster was Marcus Williams, a 23-year-old who was working the closing shift with Derek. They believe Derek killed him during closing, an argument that turned into something much worse. Then he panicked when we pulled up to the drive-thru. Derek Turner was arrested 3 days later, found hiding at his ex-girlfriend's place 2 towns over, still with Marcus's blood on his shoes. It's been a year now. I still can't drive past a McDonald's without seeing those legs or remembering Derek's face through that window. Samson moved to Oregon 6 months ago. He said Bakersfield just had too many bad memories. I can't blame him. Sometimes I think about how close we came to just driving away and forgetting about that smoothie. I wonder if Marcus would have been found as quickly, or if Derek would have gotten away with it. But mostly, I think about the fact that we ordered burgers from a guy who had just killed his coworker, that he handed us our food with hands still stained with blood, and I almost didn't notice. A cold burger is nothing compared to the chill of a killer's touch. If your heart is still racing, feed the shadows by hitting like and subscribing. It's the only way to stay safe here, but stay alert, because in Oregon some mascots never truly retire. I went to college in Eugene, Oregon. It's a small campus nestled between the mountains and the forests, pretty famous for its late-night parties. I was walking back from one of them when I found myself stumbling down Willamette Street at 2 in the morning, a little buzzed and craving McDonald's fries like my life depended on it. Luckily, I spotted the bright yellow golden arches glowing at the end of the block and headed towards them, doing that drunk walk where you think you're going perfectly straight, but you're actually zigzagging across the entire sidewalk. When I got there, the parking lot was completely deserted, but all the lights were blazing inside. I could see the counter and the menu boards, but there wasn't a soul at the registers. The door was locked, so I started banging on it as hard as I could. "Hey, are you guys open?" I yelled, but nobody answered. I kept pounding, pressing my face against the glass, and that's when I saw movement in the back. "I see you. Can I just get some fries?" I hollered. A tall silhouette started walking toward me. As they stepped into the light, I saw the red and yellow striped shirt, the big red wig, and the white face paint. It was someone dressed as Ronald McDonald, but it looked all wrong. The makeup was smeared and running down their face, and the wig was crooked, pushed too far back. But the worst part was the painted smile. It was stretched unnaturally wide across their entire face. It was completely freaky. Hey man," I said, trying to sound like I wasn't bothered. "Are you guys still serving? I just want some fries or something." The sentence died in my throat as he cocked his head to the side, exactly like a dog hearing a weird noise. That painted smile seemed to widen even more. He blinked once and then suddenly lunged straight at me. Startled, I stumbled backward. "What the hell?" He slammed into the glass door, making it vibrate. His hands, covered in white gloves with red and yellow stripes, were pressed flat against the pane. He burst into a fit of laughter, a high-pitched, shrill sound that felt totally wrong coming from a man. I took off running at full speed, my drunken legs pumping as hard as they could. I nearly wiped out on the sidewalk, but I managed to catch myself. I heard the door rattling behind me, and when I stole a glance back, he was trying to force his way out. My eyes locked onto the park right across the street. It was pitch black in there, but I bolted toward it anyway, thinking I could hide. I reached a bench and collapsed behind it, my heart hammering a mile a minute. I tried to stay silent, but the world was spinning. I listened intently. I could hear footsteps on the pavement getting closer, accompanied by that bizarre wheezing laughter. I held my breath as the steps grew louder. Suddenly, they stopped on the other side of the bench. An eerie silence settled over everything. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears and my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. Finally, the footsteps started up again. This time, they were fading away, I waited a full 2 minutes before I dared to stand up and look. The street was totally empty. I let out a breath I didn't even know I was holding. I turned slightly, and suddenly, something dropped from the tree above. I jumped and screamed at the top of my lungs. It was him. He was standing right in front of me, that god-awful smile just inches from my face. As I spun around to run, I tripped and hit the ground hard. My hands, knees, and face scraped against the concrete. Everything hurt, and the world was tilting. My stomach did a somersault, and I ended up puking all over myself. I was on all fours, retching, when I felt him standing over me. I could see those oversized red shoes out of the corner of my eye. He started laughing again, like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. I stayed on the ground, covered in vomit, frantically backing away to get some distance, while he just stood there laughing. Then he suddenly stopped. He went dead silent, just staring at me for a long time. Finally, he turned around and walked back toward the McDonald's, slipping inside as if nothing had happened. I stayed there in my own mess for 10 minutes. I was too terrified to move and too drunk to think straight. Eventually, I dragged myself up and headed home, taking the longest possible route to avoid that McDonald's. Jake found me passed out in the shower at 4 in the morning, fully clothed. He just figured I'd had too much to drink. I didn't tell him a thing. I went back the next day, sober and in bare daylight. The McDonald's looked perfectly normal, filled with customers and kids playing in the play place. I asked the manager if anyone had been dressed as Ronald McDonald the night before. He looked at me like I was insane. "We don't do that anymore," he said. "Ronald's been retired for years. You probably just saw someone messing around. We get weirdos out here sometimes." He went back to work. My online searches turned up nothing about a clown or any suspicious activity. It's been weeks now. I'm still in Eugene, and I'm on that campus every day, but I don't walk home drunk anymore. In fact, I avoid McDonald's at all costs. Just seeing the golden arches gives me the chills. My roommates think I hallucinated the whole thing, and maybe they're right. Maybe it was just the alcohol. But I still remember those big red shoes standing over me while I was on the ground. I can still hear that laugh and see that impossibly wide smile, and I know it was real. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. It's easily the hottest city in America. The kind of place where even at night, the air feels like you're sitting inside a preheated oven. It was late September when I pulled into the McDonald's on Indian School Road around 1:30 in the morning. I just wanted to grab a quick snack before heading home. The drive-thru line was completely empty. As I pulled up to the speaker, a girl's voice crackled through. She sounded young, maybe in her early 20s. "Welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you?" "Yeah," I started. "I'll take a quarter-pounder meal and—" "Oh my God, is it really you?" She cut me off, sounding totally thrilled. What?" "Just pull up to the window." I drove forward, feeling completely confused. When I got to the window, she was already leaning out. She was a very pretty Hispanic girl. She gave me this huge, friendly smile, as if we were old friends, but I had never seen her before in my life. "Hi," she said. "Oh my God, I can't believe it's actually you. I'm sorry, but do we know each other?" "You're so funny," she laughed, like I just told the joke of the century. "You look even better in person." My stomach started to knot up. Something felt wrong. I'm a pretty average-looking guy. I'm losing my hair, and I drive a 15-year-old Camry. Girls don't just hit on guys like me out of the blue. "Look, I just want my food," I said. "You should really give me your number," she said, twirling her hair. "Or like I could just go home with you tonight." I stared at her. "What? Just for a little bit, please?" Her voice was starting to sound desperate. "I'm off in 10 minutes. You could wait, and then we could—" "No, I don't even know you." I was starting to get really uncomfortable now. "Can I please just have my order?" The shift was immediate. Her smile vanished. Her eyes went wide. Then she began to look absolutely terrified. Right then, A heavy thud echoed from inside, like a large object slamming against a wall. The color drained from the girl's face instantly. "Call 911, she whispered. "What? Please, just call." A man in a black ski mask suddenly stepped out from behind the counter. He grabbed her by the hair and violently yanked her head back. She let out a piercing scream. "Shut your fucking mouth." He slammed her face down against the counter, and blood splattered across the window, separating us. I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't even think. A second masked figure appeared. This one was brandishing a long steak knife and was screaming at the woman. "Where's the safe? Where's the fucking money?" She was sobbing now. The first guy hit her in the face again, and she disappeared from my line of sight. Trembling, I fumbled for my phone. I dropped it, then grabbed it again. I locked my doors and called 911 immediately. Through the drive-thru window, from a distance, I could still see them. The girl was on the floor. He was kicking her over and over, but she wasn't screaming anymore. I saw the guy with the knife lean down. I couldn't see exactly what he was doing. A minute later, he stood back up, holding a butcher knife. Something that looked like an intestine was hanging off it. His hands were dripping with blood. He looked at his partner, and they both bolted toward the back. The cops arrived 30 seconds later. Officers jumped out, guns drawn. I got out with my hands up and told them everything. They went inside and came back out 2 minutes later. One cop was on the radio calling for paramedics. Another was sprinting toward the back parking lot. The robbers had escaped through the back, and the girl was dead. When the ambulance arrived, they carried her on a stretcher covered by a sheet that had turned crimson. I overheard a paramedic mentioning multiple stab wounds. I had to give a statement and describe what I'd seen. A detective asked me if I'd caught their license plate. I told them I hadn't even seen a car. The girl's name was Maria Santos. She was 22 and working the night shift to pay for school. The guys who killed her were caught a week later. They tried to rob a gas station 2 towns over. The police matched their DNA to the scene at McDonald's. I testified at the trial and had to watch the security footage of Maria when the man first grabbed her. The jury convicted both of them. I'm 26 now. It's been almost a year. I still think about Maria every single day, about the fact that she was trying to get me to take her with me just to save her life. I thought she was just flirting. My therapist says I couldn't have known and that I did the right thing by calling 911. She says it was only natural to want to save my own life first. That doesn't help with the nightmares and the guilt I feel. Every time I drive past a McDonald's,